Assalamu alaikum, shalom, shalom. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's stream, today's debate, today's discussion, whatever you want to call it, between yours truly and Azrael, my good friend who's going to be helping me out with this conversation. We're going to be talking a bit about certain historical perspectives on the situation in the world going on, especially in the Middle East. I'd like to think. I'm probably going to be focusing a bit on Muslim perspectives, and Azrael is going to be talking about certain Jewish perspectives. So let's get it on. Azrael, how are you feeling today?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How are
Good,
you?
good. Any expectation from today's session?
Uh, not necessarily. I mean, we spoke a few times already, and then, like we said earlier, we didn't necessarily know what topic to choose. So
Okay, so
I'm looking forward to anywhere it goes.
what do they want to hear? What do they want to talk about? Tell me, start something up, Azrael. I think it's only fair that you get the first shot.
Uh, I'm honestly, I don't even know. Out of
Okay,
the many
so
different
let's
topics that we were
talk
talking
about from a
brought
historical concept,
together.
perspectives on the state of Israel from a historical context, how Muslims view it and how Jews viewed it. Basically, what I see, if I may, is okay. There is a state, the formation of the state of Israel, and somehow it is the natural home place of the Jewish people, but it came at the expense of the people living in this area. And at the time, it was certain people from Arab and Muslim descent. So I like to think that yes, there could be a potential for coexistence, but not under the status quo. So that being said, I want to hear your thoughts, Azrael. What do you think?
What do I think about the formation of Israel?
Yeah, from a Jewish perspective, from a Israeli Jewish last, if I may be so bold, Zionist perspective.
I mean, I don't know that I'm going to represent all of those perspectives. I have my own perspective.
I like
Um,
to hear it.
I think that I definitely understand the reasoning for the creation of Israel. Um, I definitely understand the reasons for it to exist today. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Israel's done or um, all the events that led up or to the creation or after the creation or whatever, from both sides or many sides. I mean, I know that um, a lot of the time people try to think of things in a binary sense, but obviously there are many sides. Yeah, I mean, what do you want to narrow in on?
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's not black and white. It's a big scale of grays. I like to think, 50
Uh,
Shades of Grey, shout out, to that movie. But in a sense, it is not entirely a binary concept as you mentioned, but it is true that there are certain aspects of it that are more aligned into the black scale, into the white scale, and that's why I mention all the time that the creation of Israel, to my mind, came at the expense of the people in the area. And I say my people, as I'd like to be a representative in a sense of certain Arab and Muslim factions. Um, what I see is that perhaps there should have been a different scenario. And speaking of should have is a hypothetical situation where we should address the status quo and perspectives on the status quo. To my mind, there seems to be a narrative that I always mention is that this situation created with the creation of the state of Israel makes a peace impossible, because although we try to see a scenario of peace in the Middle East, and we spoke about that in the previous session, I like to think that it is a state that is created at the expense of the other state. To me, it's just a matter of seeing, okay, we want to coexist peacefully, but how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, that's the big question. Personally, that is the big question, right? It's complex, right? You have the two-state solution, one-state solution, everything in between. Uh, I mean, like I said, what do you want to narrow in on? And I can start telling you what I think about it if you want.
So yeah, I mean, I like to think that maybe having a scenario where we are looking at what are the ambitions of the state of Israel. You know, the ambitions of the state of Israel are from the river to the sea, like they say. Some arguments, big shout out to people referring to as Narnia, which is the greater state of Israel, right? The from the Euphrates to the Nile. Or what is that ambition? What is a scenario where Israel says, okay, this is what I want to achieve, to your mind?
Let's see. I mean, whenever we're talking about any of these things, like when you say like Israel, right? Like talking about any state, right? Any country. I mean, we're kind of generalizing here, right? I mean, today's Israel is not yesterday's Israel.
It's
Different
not really
leaders have
tomorrow's
different,
Israel. True.
yeah. Different leaders have different motivations, different groups.
Different
After
government has
certain,
different goals, I guess.
exactly. I mean, are we talking about this government? Are we talking about old governments? Are you talking about the people on the ground, right? I mean, it's a kind of general statement to say what is its ambitions. I definitely don't agree that its ambitions are certain things that we spoke about in the past, like greater Israel, quote unquote, and things of that sort. I think, like any state, it obviously has goals of security and things of that sort. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Honestly, Azrael, I feel like I cannot deny that I'm still inclined into believing that Euphrates to the Nile Greater Israel scenario is to some people an ambition, and more importantly to some people in government an ambition. I've seen statements, I've heard statements where they mention, I've even seen a patch for some military division where they show a map of the promised land, basically, the Euphrates to the Nile. I
I'm
cannot tell you
curious.
exactly which faction it is because I don't know it, but I've seen that patch, I've seen that image, and I've heard statements about the greater state of Israel, and that's why I
Let
mean
me
I,
ask
I
you a
know.
question.
Sorry, you were saying.
I'm sorry. When you say you've seen that patch, have you seen that patch in person?
Obviously, I haven't been to
You've seen,
Israel. I can't see that patch in person.
well, that's all right. I was just curious. And the picture of the patch that you've seen, is that the picture that is continually used over and over,
No,
like by
because
different
obviously
nations?
that's what I'm saying. I cannot speak for the entire Israel nation, for the Israeli nation, because
No. I just want to narrow it down into what you just said. So you've seen that patch. I'm just asking a question. The patch that you were talking about, the
yeah,
image
I
that you
haven't
were
seen
talking
it and
about.
touched it in person, but I've seen it, and
No. No. I'm talking about the image that you said you've seen. Right? You've seen an image of this patch, correct?
yes, and I've seen an image of that, and I've heard statements
Okay.
about the greatest state of
So
Israel.
right.
That
I want to narrow. I
they
want to
will.
narrow into something you just said.
Excuse
So
me.
the image that I'm saying I want to narrow into to
Yeah,
that what you just said. So that image that you've seen, have you seen multiple images of this patch, or just that one image that is used everywhere? Because I've yet to see any images except that one image.
you haven't seen that
I
patch or that image before. The map of a broader Israel.
mean, no. What I'm saying is, okay. So the patch that you're talking about, right?
Hmm.
You've seen an image of this patch. We've all seen an image of this patch. It's the same image that's always used over and over, right? Whether it's Al Jazeera article, or TikTok or Facebook, whatever. It's always the same exact image. My question
So
is have you seen another image other than that image?
no, I mean I've seen an image of from the river to the sea. I've seen an image of the
No, no.
current state of Israel. I understand
Okay. Well,
that
we
I
can we
cannot
can get we can
generalize
get in.
Israel. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. We can get into all that. I just want to, for a second, narrow into the statement that you said. You've seen an image of the patch on soldiers. So, and like I said, we've all seen this image. From my experience, and I've searched everywhere, there's only one image, and it's the same image that's reused and circulated all over. I'm just asking you, have you seen any other image except that specific
Any
image?
variation of it? No, I've only seen that specific image, and I feel we're
Okay,
talking about the same image.
okay, good, good, good. So the reason why I'm not saying it's impossible, but the reason why I'm a little skeptical of this image is because one, we've yet to see another image of this. It's the same image. And on top of that, the map that's used for this greater Israel map is a very strange map, right? Like even, the outlines of the map are kind of weird, like I think we've had this conversation in the past where I've explained that the image of from the whatever river to the other river would have never
Euphrates
cut
to the
across the
Nile,
bottom.
Iraq to
I'm sorry.
Egypt, Iraq to Egypt,
Yeah, yeah.
Euphrates to the
It
Nile.
would have it would never cut it would never cut across like that because even from the biblical sense, nobody envisions cutting across a desert like that, right? Like all the different peoples when they traveled from like Babylon, for example, or Persia into the Levant, it was always following the river up north, heading a little bit west, and then coming down across the coast, right? Like if you were to look at like other maps and stuff of like talking about from one river to the other, it's always like this like slanted line because it's just the natural like territory that people would walk on. It would never cut across like that, right? So the thing that I find super interesting about that map is it just happens to end on the south side at Kaibar. Now, Kaibar has no religious or historical significance to any Jews whatsoever, right? I don't think any Jews have even heard of it until crossing a Muslim's path. But from Islam, Muslim history, or at least the history within the Muslim context, Kaibar is significant, right? When talking about Jews. So
Yeah,
I just find
was
it
the
interesting.
Battle of Khaybar
I just
and
find it
back in the day. I think you're referring to,
correct,
right?
correct, right. Yes. So I just find it kind of interesting that this map starts circulating, right? The map itself, and then a patch, and then the drawing of the map. Now, to the average, I would assume Muslim that's just like creating a from one river to the next river type map. It would be significant to draw that line to end to what they would, believe is Jewish territory or territory that Jews would want to claim within this territory. And I would imagine it'd be Kaibar, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Jewish territory, according to Muslim history, was Kaibar, Medina area, correct?
Yes, and can you elaborate for Simcha what Khaybar is or Khaybar for Arabs?
Kaibar is where according to history from Islam, that's where the Jewish Arab tribes lived. That's also where the battle between the Jewish Arab tribes and I guess other tribes that they
And
joined with.
do you recollect what happened? What was the reason for that battle, or the Muslim narrative of the perspective of why that battle happened?
I mean, we can get into the whole narrative, but I mean, I don't think
No,
that it
I
really
mean
matters
because
too
I
much.
want to highlight that there was a truce between the Muslims and the Jews and the Arab Jews of
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, that's fine. I mean, if you want to,
just no, because
go into that, that's
just to kind
totally
of
fine. But
answer Simcha's question, so he understands the historical
oh,
context
okay.
of it.
Oh, you can answer that question because
No, I
it's
mean
not
just to kind
significant
of
to me.
build upon what you're saying and to answer Simcha's question is that the significance is that there was a truce, and the Arabs were fighting other Arab tribes, and the Muslims were fighting other Arab tribes, and there was a truce, and there was an agreement, and that agreement was in a sense violated, and it ended up having repercussions on the Muslim army confronting or having a direct confrontation with the Jewish Arab tribes at the time. Is this an accurate narrative?
Um, sure, but I guess what my point is that this event is not recorded anywhere other than within, well, I guess we'll call Islamic history,
But
right? There's
history
no,
is a record of an account. I mean, obviously, probably,
I, I,
and I like
that's
to
fine.
think
That's fine.
what
Listen,
Nikias
I
is
think this,
mentioning is that it wasn't all Jews. It was a specific Jewish tribe, to what I understand. Correct?
yes, but I think we're kind of tangenting from the point.
Okay.
My only point is that this event, right, is not recorded by any Jewish historians. It's not a theological thing for Jews. Jews have
It was
never even
more of
heard
a
of this
Muslim
event.
perspective.
Right. It's not only just a Muslim perspective. It's a story recorded by Muslims. Right. So what my point is that when you draw a map, right, no Jew is going to include Kaibar in this map, even for the crazy Jews that are like, oh yeah, we're gonna take all the territory that the Bible said they're gonna give to Abraham. Like even those, they've never included that
So
city
can I
because
can I
again,
understand that you're
there's no
insinuating?
theological. I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I understand that you're insinuating that that map or that patch is a non-Jewish creation?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean,
Okay.
if I had to guess, I would imagine that is not created by any Jews.
Okay.
So I would imagine that the map was created by probably a Muslim, because again, it would only be a Muslim that would recognize Kaibar to have any significance to Jews. And then somehow that specific map just keeps getting, used over and over and over for the whole greater Israel conspiracy. That said, then all of a sudden someone creates this picture of a patch, which no one has ever seen, right? There's no other picture of this patch. It's the same image over and over and over. I mean, no one could seem to find any company that sells this patch, although I'm sure now maybe someone might like create one. But I just think it's weird. It's a little fishy. Like I said, no, the drawing of the map is weird uh, for so many reasons. The ones I already listed, and I could continue on to explain why this map would make no sense drawn by a Jew. Uh, and then, like I said, there's only
So
one image, and it just
you
keeps being
understand,
repeated
Azrael,
over.
that the point I'm trying to get to is that the end game or the ambitions of one nation come at the expense of the other. Because if we would say like a utopian best case scenario for certain Jews or certain Israelis, would be that creation of a state of Israel in a broader sense, that is contradictory or contra, let me use the word, it's not in the interests of the people living in that area. So although I can entertain your perspective of saying, okay, this might be a conspiracy theory, fair enough. I can understand your vision of it, but the vision of the other side is, okay, so these people are not here to take a peep. With all due respect to these people, no disrespect intended. These people are not here to take a bit of land and chill. They have a broader project, and that broader project is threatening to the people living in this area, aka Muslims and Arabs. And I put them in two different categories because obviously a lot of Arabs are not Muslim, and a lot of Muslims are not Arabs. We know the story.
Right.
So personally, I mean, I didn't want to go in that direction from the first debate, but I figured, when I mentioned this end game scenario, is when I see that, okay, we are having a discourse here, which is we are playing two different games. We have two different goals here, and they're opposed. And this is why I always bring up the end of times discourse or conversation, because at the end it's also another point where we have a discrepancy. We have a disagreement where we have Muslims viewing the end of the world in a way and Jews viewing it in another way. And the way each of them achieves victory is completely opposite to the other. There is no harmony in it. It's no like we're going to hold hands and sing kumbaya. No, both scenarios
That's
end.
that's not true.
Elaborate.
So, I mean, obviously, when talking, okay, first off, uh, neither the Jewish Bible, if you want to call it that, the Tanakh, nor the Quran mention this end time like in detail, right? So obviously, we flesh out what this end times looks like through extra biblical and extra Quranic text, right?
I beg to differ
Right?
because there is the Messiah for the Jews hasn't come yet.
No, no. What? Okay, hold on. So what I'm saying is the details, right? The
Yeah,
details that we're
because
talking about, the
that's something
stories
in
of
the
the.
Quran or in the Jewish Bible, it won't give mention literally because these are guidelines. These are a set of events that happen in a sequence of events, and they're not entirely related all the time. For
No, no.
example,
I think
mm,
you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Okay, let
sorry,
me
I might
give
have
me a moment
misunderstood
to
you.
flesh it out for you, and then that way
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
be on the
please,
same
please,
page.
please. And if I interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. So what I'm trying to say is, so you made a statement that like uh, our end time views are different and they don't like include each other and uh, conflicting and so on and so on. And I was trying to say that that's not necessarily true. But I wanted to preface that with saying that the descriptions of these events that we're talking about are neither in the Quran nor in the Bible, right? So I,
But we don't
I
we
want
don't
to
have all our sources of knowledge from the Quran. We have the Hadith, we have the
agree.
jurisprudence,
I agree. I agree. But,
and at the
but
same time, there
obviously,
is more to the Jewish Bible than just the Jewish Bible. There is a lot more to it,
I
you know.
agree. I agree. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'll get there in a second. I just wanted to make that clear because, at the end of the day, whether it's Jews or Muslims or Christians or whatever, whenever we find like something weird and something we don't agree with, whether it's in the Talmud or the Hadith, or just go down the list of all these like I said, side texts, we
Sources.
always go, well, you know, we always go, well, the Quran or the Torah or whatever doesn't say that, right? We always do that. So I just wanted to make it clear that this description of the time frames or these events are not actually in those books, right?
Well,
So
actually,
they're in.
I need to refute that because in the Quran explicitly it does says about Jews. It says they will have two highs and two lows, or two rises and two falls. Okay, and
Yeah, but that's not. But again, that's not even referring to the end times. That's discussing
no, it
specifically
does. It totally does. For
that's
us, it does.
specifically discussing the two destructions of the temple.
But
So so
the
again,
two
I,
rises are now the current state of Israel is the second rise.
that again, that's fine. But we're still not talking about the end times we were referencing, right? Like the Messianic era, right? Like the time of the Messiah, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the reconstruction of the Temple of Solomon, for example.
I mean, that is mentioned as I guess, event within this time frame. Yes, but
It is
obviously
an
that's
event
not
that
what
will
we're.
lead into the arrival of the Messiah.
Sure, but again, when you said that our end time understandings conflict with each other, right?
Yeah, it
You're
does
obviously.
because in order to construct the Temple of Solomon, you have to bring down the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Hold on, because we're kind of getting like we're
Sidetrack?
muddying the waters here.
Okay,
Yeah, we're muddying the waters from what I'm trying to say
okay.
and what I'm
Please,
trying.
please
I'm
elaborate.
trying, I'm
I
trying
keep
to
on
narrow it
interrupting you.
because
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's all right. Because like I said, when you're talking about the end times, right? And again, I'm narrowing into your statement that our end times conflict and that I don't know exactly what you said, but that uh remind me. You said something along the lines of like they're not like in the interest of each other. That's kind of how I felt you were. They conflict. They're not in the interest of each other. Like we're gonna have a conflict type of thing. And then I was trying to say that
I want to
that's
tell you
not
my
necessarily.
story after you finish your part because you're gonna understand why I see it as conflicting.
No, no, no. Well, I understand why you see it as conflicting
Why
because
do
you're
I see it as
Muslim.
conflicting?
Because your theological narrative has a conflict between the Jews and the Muslims. But the Jewish end times does not have a conflict. with the
But
Muslims.
the enemies of Israel will be destroyed by the Messiah.
I mean, let me ask you a question. Do you think when these prophecies were being fleshed out and written, do you think that the thinkers were thinking of Muslims when they said the
No,
enemies of Israel?
I cannot unequivocally say that
Well,
Jews were intending,
you don't have
but
you
they're
don't have to.
talking about an enemy of Israel, right?
Okay, so an enemy of Israel. Let's go with that,
So,
right?
and who is the arch
So,
enemy of Israel right now? It's inevitably the Arabs and the Muslims in the region surrounding them, especially militant, more extremist groups.
okay, even if that's true, we're still not in the end times, right? That's irrelevant to the end times,
No,
right? We're the
that's why
Babylonians were.
I disagree.
So okay, well, listen, we can disagree on the fact. We can
But
disagree
that's the
on
whole
when
purpose of
when we
this
think the
session
end
is to
times
have a
are.
disagreement and to argument each of us from
Yeah,
perspectives, from a Muslim and a Jewish
yeah,
perspective. Hence
that's
the
fine.
title.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Again, if you think we're in the end times, that's totally cool. I do obviously do not believe we're in the end times, but let's go with that. But either way, whether we're in the end times or not, it still doesn't negate my point. Dude, my point is that the Jewish view of the end times is not that the Muslims or Christians or any of these peoples are their rivals or that they're in conflict with these individuals. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. I could go more in depth if you'd like,
I'd like to hear it
but
because
that's
I want to
that's
elaborate
what
my
I'm
point of view too.
okay. Because that's what I'm trying to say when I say that that no, the only ideas that we are in conflict would be from what you would say would be the Muslim perspective. And I don't want to just say the Muslim perspective because obviously, again, the reason why I brought up the point and the fact that this is not within the Quran means that you can have many different Muslim perspectives. You can have many different Jewish perspectives. You can obviously, if the claim is that the only thing we're going to hold to be true is the Bible or the Tanakh or the Quran, definitely the Quran for the Muslim perspective, then that means that everything else can possibly be different, right? You can have many different sects, many different denominations, many different ways of thinking outside those books, even outside of the interpretations of what those books say, right? So again, the reason why I brought up those books is because none of these events are in those books. So I'm going to come back when I say that this is your specific Muslim understanding of the end times, which I'm sure there are others that agree with you. I want to make that clear. But that said, the Jewish end time perspective is not that we are in conflict. That is specifically a Muslim end time perspective that you agree with, and that I
Well,
would believe other Muslims don't
I
necessarily
would
agree with.
agree that the Jewish perspective of the end times doesn't necessarily have a direct mention of an enmity towards Muslims.
Right.
But it
Nor
does
nor do they
mention that there
nor
will
does
be
it
an
teach.
enmity towards the enemies of Israel.
Sure.
So
Sure. Let's go with that.
inevitably, if the enemies of Israel at the time were the Romans, or the enemies of the time were the Russians, for example, or the German Nazis, or etc. etc. etc., then the Messiah, if he would have come at those times, he would have brought glory to Israel and destroyed those enemies, right?
So is your argument that if the Messiah shows up in 10 days, then Muslims are the enemy? Is that what
And
you're saying?
not only that, I can mirror that to the perspective that we know that or our perspective or angle is that our vision of the antichrist is the exact equivalent of the perspective of the Messiah for the Jews.
But again, this is the problem with this, right? Again, the problem with this is A, that is not in the Quran. B, there is no Antichrist in the Quran.
But
You
there is
could
a
you
description
could
of the
hold,
antichrist.
there, hold on. You could, squint your eyes and
No,
maybe
man, look,
find
in the
that
Quran it does
I
say
would
that he will have traits of a god when he's not a god, and that's the antichrist. I mean, the
do
Quran
me a
sometimes
favor.
something mentions stuff explicitly and sometimes it mentions implicitly, you know? And
Okay.
sometimes you need
I
to
want.
reinforce the meaning of the word of God of the Quran by what other contributions are added by other sources, right? So because the word of God is the Quran, yes, true, but he has so much to talk about. He doesn't have to talk about the apocalypse all the time. You know what I mean?
I don't want to get. Okay. I don't want to get hung up on the little things, right? And then we kind of tangent away from the main point, right? Like
Okay,
so.
what is
For
the main point to
example,
your
what,
view?
because right now you made a statement, right? You made a statement that the the Muslim view is that the Muslim Antichrist is the Jewish Messiah, right? That's what you
Facts.
said.
Facts.
So, right, that's what you said.
I said
I
that. I
just wanted
stand
to
by
make
it.
it clear, right? I just want to make it clear that this is not something mentioned in the Quran, and that the Quran doesn't even talk about an Antichrist. Now, if you,
It does mention
hold on,
certain narratives
now,
about the end of times
so I
and
don't, hold on one second. I don't want to get hung up on that little detail, like if we disagree whether the Quran mentions an Antichrist or not. But
okay,
if you say it does, instead of us like going back and forth, either you or someone in the chat could just like put the
the evidence.
passage, just put the passage or something, and then anyone can read it, and then maybe I'm mistaken, maybe you're mistaken, or so on.
In Arabic, it says يوم
That's
تأتي بعض آيات ربك, which means the day that part of the powers of God will come forth. And that explanation of it, because obviously the Quran gives there is
this is my point when I say you have to squint really hard to see it.
no, but
So
in the Quran there's some scholars agree that there is a near
sure,
meaning and a far meaning. Okay, so there's a meaning
sure.
that is implicit to the
Listen to
current
what you just said.
situation.
This you just right. Some scholars, right? I mean, anything that you're gonna say that Muslim scholars had to debate within the first 100 years of Islam. I mean, it's fair to say that they weren't sure, right? Hence why there was debate, right?
There
Because
was
if they were
debate
sure,
about certain broader lines, but there is no
that's fine.
neglect on the reality of an end of times battle, end of times situation.
Listen, again,
I mean,
that's not my.
I would challenge you to find some Muslims saying there is no end of times battle, there is no
No,
Antichrist,
I
there
didn't
is no
say that though.
Messiah.
I didn't state that. That wasn't my
Okay,
claim. Okay, because obviously all of the three main branches of the Abrahamic faith believe in an end time Messiah. I mean, they get it from their progenitor belief, which is Judaism. So, I mean, obviously, they're all going to carry that on. Uh, I guess it's not obvious, but whatever. It just happens to be that way. So, that said, so we don't tangent too far, when we're describing this end time, like you just said, I want to go back to what you said, in which you
yeah,
said that the Islamic understanding of the Antichrist is the Jewish Messiah. Okay, that is, I would agree, one of the Muslim understandings, but I just wanted to make it clear that this is not mentioned in the Quran, right? So that there could be other perspectives on who this Antichrist is, or whether there even will be an Antichrist, because again, the Quran does not mention that, right? So that said, the
I
obviously the
feel
Jewish
from your
perspective.
statement, Azrael, that you're insinuating that anything outside the Quran is not valid.
I'm not. No, no. I'm not insinuating that it's not valid. I mean, it's as valid as anyone wants to believe it to be, right? I mean, if there's anything that the majority of Muslims agree on, it's that the Quran is the book, right? It's
Yeah, but
that
it is
whatever
not
the
the only source of knowledge.
I
Just
didn't
like
say
the
that.
Hebrew Bible or the
I didn't
Israeli Bible is not the
was,
only
but
source of
nobody.
Jewish knowledge.
Oh, okay, but that's not my claim, though. My claim isn't that that's the only source of knowledge, right? I'm just making a claim that the majority of Muslims would agree that the Quran is God's word, right? And that there is no ifs, ands, and buts when it comes to this book, right? Now, when you're talking about the Hadith, there's much debate, right?
Yeah, but there
Right
are
from the
certain
beginning all the way
hadiths
to
that
the
are
end.
authentic and verified and
Sure,
guaranteed, and there are other hadiths that
sure,
are probably less authentic, less verifiable. I understand that. There's some
sure.
people that mention about hadiths that are completely incoherent. I know what you mean.
I'm with you on that. But my point is that the Hadith are open for that debate, right?
Well, I mean, we do believe that our Prophet Muhammad, he never spoke falsely. So if he says something, it's true. You know what I mean?
I fine with that. That's not what I said.
The other thing
What I
is
said,
whether he actually said it or not is another debate.
okay, that's what I'm talking about right
I
there, right? Because the
understand. No, I
hadith,
get your point very well.
I mean, that's not even my point. That's just something. That's just a fact, right? But my point is that the hadith are open for conversation in regards to which hadith different Muslims believe is legit and not
It's not
legit.
about how
But the,
Muslims believe it is legit. It's about the
yeah,
validity that it has.
yes, the validity, correct. I think you're getting hung up on the wrong things. But what I'm trying to explain is that this is not a conversation ever with the Quran, though, right? The only thing that is ever a conversation in regards to the Quran is interpretations of the Quran, but never what the Quran says, right?
I don't follow.
I mean, okay. I just laugh. All right. For the majority of Muslims, follow me here, and don't and try not
I
to
am.
like.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
our show,
Don't
Azrael, and that's the
yeah, yeah.
cool
Let's
thing
not
about
get
it, that
hung up
we've
on
got
the
a good
small things.
vibe and we kind of
Yeah.
understand each other. And I want to see how far the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to tangent too far because I want to get back to the original point. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's all.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying all these other things to make sure we're on the same
Yeah,
page.
yeah, yeah.
So I just want to make some claims and see if you agree, disagree, and then we can move on to the point. As far as the Quran goes, the majority of Muslims are never going to question whether what is in the Quran is not legit. Correct?
Yeah, but
Okay. Okay.
if I may, Azrael, there's a difference between what the
Okay.
Quran says and what the Quran means to say. Some
Okay.
things
Well,
are very
but what it
explicit.
means
Don't eat
are,
pork, for example. Other
that's
things
fine.
are, for example, you can't eat a certain type of meat under a certain type of circumstance. So it's vague because it could be interpreted under different. For example, there are certain things that are halal and haram,
I was going to
and
get
in
there.
different
I
on
was
the
going to get there.
situation, they can be changed. You know?
Yes, yes. I was going to get there. That was my
Okay.
next question. My next question, again, and these I already know the answers. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. The
Fair
next
enough.
question is what you just said, right? When it comes to vague statements or uh, I don't know if you want to call it passages that are just a little vague, not necessarily clear, that is open to interpretation. We can reference uh, debates and different understandings and comprehensions from different Muslim scholars in the last 1400 years. We could reference, modern thinkers. The point is that my next statement to see, so I make sure we're clear here, is that it is never what is said in the Quran that's ever questioned. At most, it's the interpretations, right? Which is what you just said. Okay. Right? We're agreement on this.
You lost me,
This is
bro.
not like an I gotcha or anything. This is just I just want to establish it so we can move on to the point.
But let's
I
go
want to
to
make
the point. Let's go to the point, baby. Maybe you know.
so let's go. Okay. So like we were talking about the end times, right? You said that the from your specific understanding and interpretation of Islam, the Jewish Messiah is the Antichrist,
Facts.
right? Okay. When you say facts, you're saying that that's what you said, right?
That's what I
What
said, and
facts?
that's what the Muslim perspective of it is. The more you know and you
All
interpret
Muslims
history, you
believe
know
this?
that it's a reality.
Hold on. All Muslims believe this?
I can't speak for all
I
Muslims, bro.
yeah, okay. So, but you just said that that's a fact, right?
That's a
That is
fact
the fact.
from people who know their faith. Some people don't even believe in the end of times.
That's, that's not a fair statement. That's not a fair statement because again, different Muslims are going to view this differently. So you can't sit here and say like, oh, a Muslim that doesn't believe that there's going to be this like crazy war and an antichrist and so on is not a Muslim. Is that your claim?
No, because if you're a Muslim, you have to believe in the end of times and in the books
Okay,
and the
that's
holy
fine if
books.
you believe in the end. I'm not talking about the end of times. I'm talking about the specific events that you're claiming is going to happen in the end of times.
which you didn't hear them
Like,
yet,
I'm sorry.
which you didn't hear them from me yet.
Well, I mean, that's fine too. But just from what you already mentioned, right? We're not even at the parts that I haven't heard. We're just at the parts that I have heard.
So
So
you
are
want
you
to
saying,
understand the parts that you have heard from me.
no, I don't want to, no, I don't. I don't. What I'm saying is, I asked the question, right? You made a
Yeah.
claim, and I'm saying that, are you saying that all Muslims believe that there will be an antichrist and that antichrist will be the Jewish Messiah?
Okay, let me answer your question, answering the question of Maxime. So Maxime is saying,
Okay.
how do Muslims expect Jews to respond to the promise that they will kill us all when the end of time comes? Okay, you need to understand something. We
Wait,
don't
wait, wait, wait. What?
we don't know
Wait,
the
I didn't understand what you said. I'm sorry. Before you move on, I didn't understand what you just said. Say that again.
What did I say? Did you didn't understand?
Whatever you said in the last 10
So
seconds.
Maxime, my good friend, uh, Maxim is basically saying, what? How do Muslims expect Jews to respond to the promise that they will kill us all when the time comes? Just
Oh,
so you
okay, okay, okay.
understand, and this is accompanied to the discourse that we're talking about the Jewish Messiah, if I may be so bold as to call him. Okay, that we believe is the Antichrist. Okay, when the time comes, not now, not before. We don't know the consequence of events and what kind of militarized state of Israelites or Jews will be. For example, right now, a vast majority of Israelis have a military service obligatory. So technically, at a total war scenario, any given period of time, any Israeli is a member of military staff, hence an enemy. You with me or you went on duty?
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
Right, cool. So I know Atreus, you want to speak, and I told you 10 minutes, but we want to give a chance to the kind of Azrael, of course, Azrael, if because we're
I,
following.
I at least want to. I at least want to finish this specific conversation in regards to what we're talking about right now, because I don't know. Like I said, I just want to at least finish this because we started it, so I just want to finish it.
Finish it.
What?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before we invite other people, because yeah, then it'll never. It'll be like all our
No,
conversations
no,
in
no.
which like
I understand it, and it's
30
look,
voices
man.
get
This is
in and
our
we
show.
never like
What I
agree.
had planned in mind is 45 minutes, 1 hour of our show, and then we invite people, and then we see how it goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So then in that case, let's just finish this one thing and then we can invite people on.
No, no, but
So
I want you to finish because you made the point, and I want you to because you made a thesis statement. You made an assumption of what you believe is, and I want you to elaborate. I want to give you a chance to elaborate.
okay, so again, I haven't made any claim here. I'm going off your claim, and I want to flesh that out because I'm also trying to say that you're wrong, right, on what you're saying. So but to get there, because I notice every time I'm speaking, we kind of somehow we get hung up on these small little weird details, and it goes everywhere. So again, I want to make clear that that this is your understanding of the end
This
times,
is my
and this is
interpretation after
right,
studying and after analyzing.
right,
I see it clear.
and there, right, and that there are other Muslims that share this view, but this is not across the board for Islam, right? A core tenet or a core belief within Islam is not necessarily that in the end times there will be an antichrist. That antichrist will be the Jewish Messiah, right?
Well, okay. So
So
let
I'm
me
gonna
let me
ask.
just
I'm gonna ask. So look. So to make it so that it's clear, I'm gonna ask the question straight up, and then you can answer it straight up. Is it your understanding? Do you believe? Is it a fact that the majority, if not all, Muslims believe that statement I just said?
Okay, I'm going to answer your question very briefly. Right now, we're at the lowest point of Muslim civilization. Okay, we have countries with very high illiteracy rates. There is a sense of ignorance and the sense of tradition versus faith.
I want to go into all of that. I mean, you get just. I
And
don't want to do that.
because I cannot say that the majority of Muslims feel that because the Muslim majorities don't even know about it because they've
Okay,
abandoned their
let me.
faith, they've
Okay,
abandoned the
fair
traditions,
enough.
and they're just
Fair enough.
following because their parents followed.
Let me rephrase it then. Let me rephrase the question. Okay, fair enough. Let me rephrase it. After studying all the Islamic texts, every single Islamic text, would you say that there is a clear comprehension, meaning that there is no debate after this,
There's
right?
always debate.
After, well, obviously there's always debate. That's my point, except for the things there are no debate on, right?
No, but I
That's what
mean,
I
I
was trying.
cannot debate the oneness of God. There's the Alpha and the
Okay,
Omega. God is the Almighty. I cannot
no,
debate that.
fair enough. Fair enough. So fair enough. That pretty much was my point. So that's why instead
But
of
what
like
I'm
kind of
saying
dancing around,
is debatable,
just
and of
answer.
course it's not in debatable
Okay,
Muslim versus Jews.
so
It's
there we go.
debatable within Islam.
That's where I'm trying to get to. Okay, so
Yeah, of
thank you for
course, man.
saying.
Of course,
So
and
it's
at the
very
same
much
time, there are other
debatable.
points that are debatable within the Jewish faith.
Of course, but you're just agreeing with me now, right? You're just agreeing with my statement, which is good
That this is not
because
an
I know
absolute
that I'm
truth.
saying
There is no absolute truth. I don't believe in absolutes.
that's fine too. That's fine too. But I don't want a tangent. So so now we agree that that understanding of the end time events
It's
isn't
getting
something specifically stated within the
it is
Islamic
after
doctrine.
if people know their faith and they know how to read the text and know how to read the current geopolitical
It,
situation of the world.
it is one of the
It is
ideas.
an
Would you say?
interpretation, and I like to add on
And
top of it, it is yours truly's interpretation. I assume my responsibility of my statements.
thank you. So that's what I just wanted to make sure was clear because I didn't want anyone leaving this thinking like, oh, all Muslims think we're going to be in this holy war in the
All
end because
Muslims,
that
I
is
mean, if we're 1.3 billion Muslims in the world, probably half of them don't know shit about shit, you know?
that's fine. That's fine too. That's fine too. So I would imagine that's the case for all religions. So um, now that we established that, I want to just tell you the Jewish understanding of the end. Okay, because I comprehend that from a Muslim perspective or any religion that, at least within the Abrahamic faith, religions that tend to come after the religion prior to it tend to come to supersede the one prior, right? This is factual. Uh, that said, I can understand why the Muslim perspective or a Muslim perspective would be what you're saying, right? Because obviously, right? I mean, from the Muslim perspective, you know, God came and spoke to the Israelites and he chose them, right? It says that in the Quran. And then the Israelites messed up and then, they just kept messing up. And then eventually they had to bring another prophet and another prophet to get to the final prophet. And now the new chosen people are the Muslims. I get it. That's fine. So I get it. I get why you would think that the end times would be like that. But from the Jewish perspective, Jews don't think that way, right? At least the majority don't. I mean, this is not a Jewish
How
perspective
do Jews
that in
think?
the comprehension of the end times from Jews is that all people will come together to worship the one and true God, but not through necessarily one religion per se, through many walks, through many paths. The only thing that they specifically share, though, is that they all worship the one and true God, right?
Okay,
And
but
in these end, and
Azrael, that is a very broad statement because what you're saying is you're mentioning a
I'm not
very
finished. I'm
peaceful,
not finished.
oriented vision of the end of times.
Well, I'm not finished. But yes, I am specifically uh, painting a very peaceful time because that is the end time vision of the Jews. I mean, when you look into in the Tanakh, you get passages like uh, weapons will be broken down and rebuilt into farming tools, and the lamb will lay with the lion, and so on and so on. I mean, it's just continual passages explaining this time frame in which peace will exist. right? So that's why I want to make it clear that when you said that like our end time understandings are like they can't live together. Well, I mean, you could definitely live within the end time understanding of the Jewish
Yeah, but I cannot
end
live
time
within the end time perspective that
because
the Messiah will come under a specific vision. I cannot understand that the certain perspective that the Temple of Solomon has to be constructed in order for the Messiah to come, and I cannot concede to the
hold
state
on.
of Israel being the place that it is because it's not.
First off, you're mentioning details again that are not in the Torah or Tanakh or even in the Bible altogether, right? What if I were to tell you this? What if I were to tell you? Because I always laugh at these like debates about like the end times. When the sky parts and the angels come down, you're not going to say anything except for what they say, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
but
not
you're
like if they
talking
were to
about
come down,
Judgment Day. Before
that's
Judgment Day,
fine.
there is a sequence of events.
Even judgment day. I'm just trying to say that if the sky parts and the angels come down and they point to any of us and say you're wrong, are you going to stand there and be
You
like,
don't
no, I'm
have
right?
anything to say.
Exactly. I'm glad we agree on this, right?
No, of
If they were
course,
to
because
point
we're
at,
both.
oh,
Look, man. As much as we're different, we're
let me
both
just finish this
believers
point. Let
and
me
we're
finish this
both
point because I'm
monotheists.
gonna finish it.
Yeah.
I want to finish this point because it matters. So your loyalty isn't to any religion per se. It's
It's
just
the
to
God
what you believe
Almighty
is true,
first.
right?
Yeah, true.
Sure. So if the angels come down and they land on top of the on the mount wherever they land, and they look at the Jews, they look at the Christians, they look at the Muslims, and they go, "All of you were wrong." Do you think there's going to be Jews, Christians, and Muslims that are going to be like, "Nah, let's fight this guy
Bro, but you're
because I
talking
know
about the end. You're not talking about
I'm not."
the end of this
Again,
world. You talk about the
I'm
end
not
of
even talking again.
everything.
I'm talking about next Thursday. How about that? My point isn't the end time. My point is understanding what I'm saying, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's getting so convoluted. I don't even know what I'm saying. Trying to say anymore. My point is that you're not going to debate this, right? You're not going to debate with the angels and God whether Islam is right or wrong if they were to say it's wrong, right?
Sorry,
You're not going to
some
debate
people
with God,
came over
right?
and stuff. Can you say again,
So
Israel?
okay, I want again. I want to make this point clear so that I can finish my overarching point here. The skies open up, angels come down, God comes down, he points at you and he says you're wrong. Are you going to have this debate with him? No, right? I wouldn't, obviously.
What are you trying to get at?
So, because my point is that when these events happen, right? Like, if the angels come down and then start building a temple and doing whatever, you, you're not gonna like go against them, right? So to talk about these
But this is
end
your
time,
perspective. You believe that the angels. I don't
it's
believe
not.
that the temple will be
I don't.
reconstructed.
I don't believe that. What I'm trying to say is that to debate these events is almost pointless because when they happen, no one is going to like fight them. No one is going to debate them. If you find out you're wrong, if I found out I'm wrong, it, we're just going to accept that we're wrong.
Nah. The fact is,
No,
you're viewing it
you're
from
gonna
your perspective.
argue with God. You're gonna
But
argue with
I'm
God
not
and the
going to
angels.
argue with angels. I'm going
Right.
to argue.
So then obviously I'm right. Correct.
No, but we're not talking about angels. I'm not giving credibility
I'm
to the
talking about
Jewish
angels too. I'm
sources.
just trying to set a base here. I'm just trying to set a base so we can move forward.
So
I'm just trying to find a place of
the
agreement.
base is, and we're gonna let's try to also, kind of gather the point into a 4 minute closure because we also want to respect the audience, especially House of
Oh
Atreus,
yeah,
who's been having his
but we
valid.
gotta find some form of agreement here, and we gotta stop like running from this,
I'm not running
right?
from anything,
Because if you can't like answer these like types of questions, then
but I'm answering the
not you,
questions. What question have I
no,
answered?
then we're being intellectually dishonest. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say. My point is debating these end time events, which are not even written in our most holiest books, right? And then acting like they're fact, right? Is kind of strange. Is my point.
No, because
And
what I'm
these are
trying to
not.
tell you is that because the ambitions are opposed, and that was my statement at the beginning, if I may just kind of summarize it in a sense, is that because, and this is the title of it's nice that we can encompass it into that narrative, which is because the perspectives are different, because the angles of the end times and the end game is different, That's where there would always be a conflict. That's my
I,
point.
I just disagree because again, our end times is that there'll be
The
peace
scenario
together.
where there won't be a
Your
conflict is
end
one
times
of
is
them
that we will not.
subdues, and it is more likely that that the Arabs eventually will be defeated by the Jews than the Jews will stop persevering. Just in the same way you persevered today, and I shout out to Simcha for recognizing you persevered, because you gave me a hard time. You honestly debated very good, and I'm very happy for you, honestly. But my statement is there will not be peace in the Middle East. This is going to go to more, and the only way that this there will be peace in the Middle East is the moment the Muslims start disregarding their values and start giving in. And that's a scenario that is possible, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, that's fine. But that's fine. I just wanted, like I said, what we were
You seem
to just end what we were
disappointed.
talking. No, 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 no. Because I we were tangenting, and then we were, and I specifically just wanted to finish the one thing that we were talking about,
Please
and I
finish it off.
just wanted to get it across that it is not our understanding from a Jewish perspective that we are at war in the end. It is our understanding that we are at peace in the end, and that all people will be in peace under one God. It is your understanding from a version of the Muslim perspective that we will be at war.
So,
So,
bro, since we are looking at the ambition of peace, I want to bring in, with your permission, someone who speaks very highly of peace, and that's House of Atreus. And I like to
yeah,
quote
yeah,
one of his usual statements, which is saying, "One day we will hold hands and run together into the sunset."
yes,
Are you comfortable with me
yes,
bringing House of Atreus in?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me invite him to speak. Let's see if he joins. Atreus, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, guys?
I felt it's the right opportune moment to include you. Obviously, we just hit the 9 p.m. or the hour, because 9 p.m. for me, and it's only right we open the floor. I want to thank Azrael, and I want to thank all the audience so far for listening to my bullshit. You know what I mean? But Atreus,
I think we're all gonna hold hands.
you've been having your hand up for a while, so I want to hear your 2 cents on it. And hit me.
Well, no, I just popped in about 20 minutes ago or something, so like
Well,
that,
you
right?
had your hands up
Um,
for a while, so I guess you obviously had something to say about that.
well, no, I had a couple things to say. I mean, first of all, there will be a war in the Jewish end times, but it's not a war against a religion. It's a war against people who are directly attacking God or something, or fighting with God directly.
Exactly.
Um, so it's not something that will split people. It's something that will bring
Unite
people
people.
together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But these enemies of God are the enemies of Israel, right?
No,
No,
no.
no.
Okay.
It says like they are directly fighting against God. It's not like people fighting people. I mean,
And
there
that's,
will be
I'm sorry.
some
You know.
level of that, but
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to, that's what I was trying to get to. But we kept like, getting hung up on these small little details. That's what I was trying to make you understand that we definitely do have a differing understanding of the end times. But I also want to make clear that this differing understanding isn't even the main narrative of either religion. That's why I wanted to make clear that your understanding of the end times isn't every Muslim's understanding of the end times. I'm sure that there are many Muslims
yeah,
that the end times are a peaceful time too. Aren't you
yeah,
the religion of peace, as you say? I mean, so uh, again, I wanted to make that clear that our comprehensions of the end times were very different in regards to you believing that there's this future war between different religions.
Okay. Do you mind? Simcha was very active on the chat. Do you guys mind if I also include him on the conversation? I think the more the merrier sometimes.
yeah, for sure. Simcha,
Simcha or
Yeah,
Simcha?
pretty much.
Am I pronouncing his name wrong?
yeah, Simcha.
Simcha. מה שלומך, שמחה, אח שלי? Azrael, you cool?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alright, cool. So let's invite to speak Simcha. Okay, cool. So while he accepts the invitation, okay. Simcha, shalom, shalom.
I mean, I don't know how like
Good
fruitful
morning.
it is debating end times. I mean, there's a lot of issues right now that we should be debating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, I mentioned the end times narrative because Atreus, my point was perspectives, because once you look at the end results, you start going back and you can start looking at the geopolitical implications of something like that. And I always mention this, you know?
Yeah, but those kind of things always lead to Jews trying to take over the world from that kind of mindset. You know, I'm not saying that you're saying that, although you kind of do say that sometimes.
I
But
do say it.
that, yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, first of all, there's no indication that Jews are trying to take over the world. I mean, they're barely getting Israel. Going to take forever to get that point. So, I mean,
Atreus, do you mind if I give the mic to Simcha?
sure, yeah, yeah.
Simcha, bro.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fantastically.
Great. Yeah. So good morning from Australia. It's 5 a.m. here. So this is a good Jewish tradition of Shavuot, actually, where we're meant to be studying all night. So I'm definitely on that path to holiness. So that's cool.
Blessings.
This conversation, this is like this end times topic itself is like extremely interesting to me. It's something I've been trying to study a lot, and so yeah, this is really interesting. And I find I'm also like quite surprised with the direction that this conversation went in. I didn't expect this kind of perspective from Karim, and I want to learn more. And it's also a little bit frustrating as well. I guess because it sounds like there's a lot of assumptions being made about what the Jewish perspective is, and definitely perspectives that I honestly never even heard ever before.
Mhm.
So I was like questioning
Which,
myself, like, oh,
sorry, which things,
have I missed a thing? Sorry.
which things is confusing to you in the Jewish lore?
Oh, some about that particular city where Jews and Muslims apparently had a battle in, and
You're
I think
talking
you're talking
about
about Khaybar. About Khaybar.
Magog?
Khaybar. Khaybar.
No,
yeah, Kaiba,
um,
that's right. I never heard of this place before, so I was like,
no.
oh,
Khaybar is,
I must have,
is with Muhammad. That's an ancient thing.
yeah.
You're talking about the future. Or you're talking about Magog and
Well,
Gog.
look, there's a lot of gaps in my knowledge, so I'm not like the most observant Jew or the most educated, so I'm not
No, what are you
making
talking about
any.
exactly though?
But it was the my bar that was the Kai bar that was confusing me, but that was explained. So that's more of a concept within
The
Islam than it is.
Khaybar was where the Muhammad killed the Jews.
Muhammad killed the Jews is such a broad statement.
Whatever it is, I never heard of it before, so that's interesting to me
Let
to
me
hear
just
about.
correct something real quick. There was a truce, like we said before. It was violated, and in the times of Arab tradition at the time, there was a
Yeah.
justice need to be done in a way, and some of them were pardoned. Okay, for the record.
Mhm.
So, what's the take-home story of this Kaiba event in the Islamic
No, but
tradition? Are you?
the takeout basically Simcha. Am I pronouncing your name right? Simcha.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fantastic. A pleasure to meet you, man. What
Likewise.
we argument is that there was a battle, but it doesn't mean that Jews were forever traitors. Okay. It was just like someone argumented in the comments that one tribe or a certain tribe or a certain small number of tribes had a truce with the Arab and the Muslims at the time, and they betrayed that truce, and then hence there were repercussions that were the tradition of the people at the time in that place.
So, is the moral of the story to say the average uh, Muslim who hears a story, is it to say, well, the Jews can break truces, so be careful about
No,
trusting them, or
no.
something like that?
I mean, I was just trying to say that that battle happened, that situation, and that happened then. That doesn't mean, because we had a lot of Jewish scholars, chemists, statesmen in Muslim history, and we didn't mention Khaybar. Khaybar was just one battle. Okay, it's not.
I
We
never
don't
heard.
take
You've
Khaybar and
never heard
say Jews are bad.
What would you learn from that battle? Would you say what's the what's the
I
take
learned
home?
from that there was a truce. It was betrayed, and there were repercussions to it. That's it. That I don't take
And
that Jews are
would
bad
there
for that.
be
I cannot say that
would
Jews
there
are
be
the enemy
continued
because of Khaybar.
repercussions?
Excuse me.
Well, I'm not. Is it would there be more repercussions yet to come, or is
I
it that
Man, I'm not a
there's a
fortune
lesson in
teller to
there
tell
I
you
that?
mean,
more
yo,
repercussions.
Simcha, have you never heard Khaybar al Yahud?
Yes.
I'm I'm not. I haven't heard it. I'm not the most religious,
I mean, these
so
are
maybe I'm
chants
missing
that
something.
people say in like a lot of Palestinian rallies, or I mean, in the Intifada and stuff. This is like this will. I mean, this is what a lot of like fanatics are saying that will happen to the Jews again. Is another Khaybar.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll
But this
look
isn't
out
end
for that
time
word.
stuff. You're mixing those two
Yeah.
things up.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Atreus,
Anyway,
for that. Yeah.
anyway, moving on from Kaiba. So we're talking a lot about future events which haven't happened yet, and there
Probably
seems to
won't
be like
happen.
yeah, it might not even happen, but it's also a lot of confidence that things are going to happen in a certain way. So I guess the first thing that I'm uncomfortable about is that Karim has ideas about what it means to Jewish people of what's going to happen without letting Jewish people share perspectives of what we actually think will happen. There's a lot of misconceptions or presumptions,
No,
and so
Kareem is asking Jews what they think is going to happen. He thinks what he thinks is going to happen. He doesn't really
Honestly,
know what
having
yeah,
an
Jews are
open
thinking.
mind about, I mean, this is why I joined this platform, to kind of learn, you
For
know,
sure.
and to have a civilized conversation, which we're having, I mean, honestly. And at the end,
100%.
I'm trying to enrich myself through the knowledge of other perspectives. And that's why I challenge these topics that are sensitive topics, because I want to get to understand what the other side has to say about it. And Azrael was very nice, elaborating it, and I know I squeezed him a bit there, and he was really struggling to kind of get the topic out. But I was purposely challenging him to kind of get that info out, and he did a fantastic job, as I always expect from him. And I had a very nice session with Atreus before, and obviously I invite anyone to have a session with me, especially you, Simcha, because I feel you have very valid contributions, and you had questions which I feel would be nice for a dialogue.
sorry, I misunderstood that. I thought that you're legitimately pushing back because you weren't accepting it rather than just being challenging for the sake of
No, but I
conversation.
don't
So
accept it, but I'm also
I
challenged because I want to dig deeper.
what is it in particular that you're not accepting?
I'm not accepting the fact that, for me, we cannot say there will not be a battle of end of times. And that's my argument. That's my 2 cents of it. What I'm trying to tell, I mean, he was basically Azrael, and I don't like to talk to him when he's not here, because he left the session. And I know he's on call, that's why he sometimes jumps off. But Azrael was giving mention to the fact that the end of times, for a Jewish perspective, is a peaceful one. And I have a
Okay,
different
well,
opinion of it.
Well, no,
it
that's not true. It's not true. It's
I,
not. It's not that it's a peaceful one. There will be a war, and it will be, a bad war. But it's not going to be a war that like is fought between religions and people. It's going to be a war that people are fighting directly against God.
I have a different perspective on that. I don't even agree with that either. I disagree with both of you. Like,
Okay.
it's to me it's like it could be a violent battle. Many Jewish people have many different views, and like yes, there definitely are Israelis who, in particular, and Jewish people who, whether Israel or not, do have troublesome views, or do believe that there is going to be some violent battle against Muslims, and There are also
No, but
some
it's
who
not
don't.
really against Muslims. I mean, Islam didn't exist when this was written, so it's not
Yeah,
against
I'm
Muslims.
sure. But there's surely going to be some out there who are going to make some sort of interpretation that this is meaning to refer to Muslims because they don't like Muslims and that fits their narrative. People are going to use religion and twist it to
Well,
their
people
goal.
are if it doesn't say that and they're reading it into it, then that's their problem.
Yeah, sure. And I'm just saying I don't discount that possibility that people are misusing religion in this way to suit their narratives. So I just wanted to validate that, this could give people the wrong impression of Judaism because they're thinking of this sort of person who are making sort of bold claims about, oh, Israel is right to do this or that because it says so under this weird interpretation. And I just want to acknowledge that I have seen that some
For sure.
unfortunately
But
religious
also keep in
looking
mind that
Jews
when you think you
have
disagree,
done
I
that.
don't believe this is happening either.
But yeah, but like once I just want to put that out of the way that I'm not invalidating others' perceptions because there's been some bad behaving Jews. But I following on from that, I don't think that those are particularly mainstream opinions. I think there's many different views. Some involve a way of peace coming together as being the war is to end the war or to win the war you make friends, or maybe it is a struggle with God that's not specific to any group or alternative religion, and it's a case of being figuratively at war to bring truth and righteousness among nations. In particular, to Judaism, there is a concept called the Noahide laws that sort of say you don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be full-fledged Jew in order to be righteous. Just here are some very simple basic rules, and that's good. That's the minimum we expect. That's good enough. Like, don't steal, don't murder, don't do horrible things. That's and if you can do those things, you're all good. So
I mean, I do want to say that
to
you have to understand that the Torah is not concerned because they're like they don't know anything about Christianity or Islam. Like, they're not concerned with those things. What they're concerned with is the worship of Baal and idolatry, and
it's Canaanite times, which it's mainly concerned about of what came before Judaism.
I mean, the Jewish Bible and the views of end times and stuff. It's not involving Christianity or Islam. These are not things that the Bible worries about. You understand what I'm saying?
And I understand, and from what I've read, it seems to be more about that the Messiah, the Mashiach, is going to come one day. He's going to do certain things like rebuild the temple. Is one of the main things, but also there's also about raising the dead and this sort of thing. So, but nothing in there. Look, I think in those.
Sorry,
So
Simka, what did you
okay,
say
so
about raising the dead? Is that a Muslim or a Jewish perspective?
that's a Jewish perspective that our Messiah will have will know that he's
It's funny you mentioned this
a
because in the
Messiah.
Muslim perspective, the Antichrist will do that too.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if it's. Wait, hold on a second. I don't know if it's the Messiah himself who will be bringing back the dead, because most Jews believe that the Messiah is not going to be magical, dude.
He's not an Narnia character.
It's not the Jesus perception of Messiah.
So just to elaborate on that, there's no prescription in there of how this might actually be possible to raise the dead. So you might take a magical interpretation that people will suddenly start climbing out of their graves as somehow, but you might take a less literal view and be like, well, maybe raising the dead could mean the invention of CPR, where I think technically under Jewish tradition, when someone stops breathing, that's classified as being dead. But now with modern inventions of CPR, you can actually bring someone back from not breathing, and that is like raising the dead, religiously speaking, so to speak. So there are
well, I mean, I don't know.
things.
I don't know about CPR, but yeah, there could be a technology that could bring people back from the dead. That could be a thing. It could be technology. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, or some other technology that could happen. You know, there's a lot of research out there. You know, so
Yeah, science has
what,
progressed a long way.
so there's different. We don't know for sure what it will be. It's just like these are the things to look out for to know that this is a Messiah candidate, right? So, but the overall point is that there's many different ways to spin this. There's many different views among Jewish people about what it means, and there are some who use this for bad purposes, and there's some who use this to promote good views, like good outcomes for everyone that aren't at the expense of anyone else. So I just want to make it clear that, you know, this is what the Jewish perspectives are. We're rather than making presumptions that Jews are a monolith in believing this or that, and all that this particular idea that Jews want to do this is true when it's not. But at the same time, I'm going to slightly be a hypocrite of myself and suggest that even observant, well-educated Muslims might have disagreements. I'm not saying they would disagree fundamentally on things, but more
Broadly,
like
broad lines, yeah.
like you say that I think the way you said it is that there is sometimes a disagreement on some things about if what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him,
Thank you.
actually said in or meant in what he said. And so I don't know the Quran or the hadiths or the Islamic texts well enough or at all to know if this is a contentious thing that you're saying about that there is going to. It sounded to me like you're saying that there is going to be some sort of great battle that you've interpreted to all that many Muslim
Yes.
scholars have interpreted to mean a battle against the Jews.
No, because
So I
that's part of the conversation. Part of the battle is going to be with the Jews. It's true. I cannot deny that, and I cannot sugarcoat it in a sense because it is part of the discourse. But
are
I
you able to help us with maybe telling us like the particular wording or the source of this and how strongly this is the consensus is on this? Because
yeah,
is it possible
I
that
can
there
tell you
are
the summary
interpretations?
of the story, and if you want sources and references, um,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
or
I can.
whatever you know off the top of your head to
Yeah,
start
because
with might
obviously
be
to get
a
you
good
references
start.
would mean that I had to open now the Explorer and start getting, you know,
Sure. So
quoting.
let's just
But
start with your understanding.
yeah, of course.
I
So
mean, I'm
so the
curious to
Muslim
learn this.
perspective of this end of times battle is that, let's say, if I can very thorough, very briefly outline it, there's going to be minor signs and major signs. So the minor signs, all of them have happened, and now we're waiting something between that will happen between the minor signs and the major signs is the arrival of what we call the Mahdi Muntazar, which is who is a guided leader of the believers. Okay, and this gentleman will fight wars, and these wars will be of world order, you know, and basically one of them will be that the Muslims or the believers, obviously it's a matter of perspective, will form an alliance with the Romans or with the Bani al-Asfar, they call it in Arabic, which are the yellow kind people. Basically, it's said to believe that if it were to happen in these times, it will be the European Union. Okay, and these two will have an alliance. How far are we from the end of times? No, of course I wouldn't be able to answer that question. So what I was saying is that this situation would create an alliance. They would fight a very big enemy, and that enemy is not specifically mentioned, and it doesn't have to mean or not mean that these are the Jews. Yes or no. Okay, so because there's certain things that are very situational depending on the empires at the time, depending on the world order. It could be one enemy, it could be the other. Okay, so what happens after that is that the Muslims and the Europeans, they fight this battle, and one of the Romans raises the cross and says the cross won't, and one of the Muslims will chop his head off, and then a big war will start between them, etc., etc., etc. And in the sequence of events will also be the arrival of the Antichrist and the arrival of, after of the Antichrist, of the return of the Messiah, of the what we believe Jesus Christ, the real Messiah. Okay, that is a really crash course of end of times narratives for Islam. Obviously, I am not putting things in context. I'm just giving you broad lines, if I may, and I'm open to questions, because obviously it's such a quickly mentioned story that it gives. There's a lot of detail there that I'm not mentioning. You know.
Okay, so thanks. So if I could just repeat or summarize back to you on
Yes.
some points, just to make sure I understand what you said. Are you saying that essentially there's some key events to look out for to know whether these end time predictions are happening, and it seems that a lot of these predictions seem to be lining up in modern times, that there's a good
And let me
strong
rephrase that,
candidate that,
because John Hines was mentioning. Can you list the minor signs? Of course I can. There, because certain minor signs have happened throughout history. Okay, and that's why they're minor signs, because not all of them have happened, but some of them. For example, women will be dressed but be naked, and that happened during the times of the pharaohs, for example. You know what I mean? There will be a time where the just will be treated as unfair, and the unfair will be the just one, which is the current situation of a lot of times in the world. You know, etc., etc., etc. And one of the signs that some people say has happened and some people say it hasn't happened is that one of the either the Euphrates or the Nile will change its course and a mountain of gold will appear, and all the nations of the world will fight over that mountain of gold. Some people says that mountain of gold was petrol. Some people say that happened in the First World War. Some people, because it's such a broad statement that anything could be. Obviously, when Noam, you say that EU is not very Christian right now, yeah, because it doesn't give the mention to them as being Christian, but it gives mention to them being as Roman. Okay, and technically, the European Union was started with the Treaty of Rome, so technically the Europeans are the Romans. Okay, for the record. And you're right, John Hoynes, it's oil. And obviously, I invite anyone to join because I don't want to be stealing the show. I don't know, Simcha, if you wanted to continue on your summary.
yeah. So we're just to confirm, we're saying here, or you're saying here, that a lot of the things are starting to line up here, that it's becoming a strong suspect that the end times are coming true,
Thank you, Simcha.
effectively.
You can see the tendency, right? The sequence of events and why certain people in certain parts of the world, like Muslims, have reason to believe that it's very close.
Okay, so then my question is, is it, how much agreement is there among those who are scholarly enough to understand it, to believe that this is necessarily going to be a very violent or brutal kind of battle, versus a more metaphorical one, that like there is a battle, and then that the tool which ended up winning the battle is not necessarily a nuclear bomb kind
Science,
of
or it's a
scale thing,
virus, or it's
but
whatever. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
but like a peace treaty is the ultimate weapon that ends the
I
war, or something metaphorical
personally
like that.
have never heard that interpretation before. I
Well,
personally
Would
well, are you talking about
don't
the Jewish
follow
text or are you
that
talking about the
that
Muslim text?
narrative. Sorry,
I
if
mean,
you're saying something.
I'm asking about the Muslim text, or the Muslim
Oh,
understanding of the text, and
oh.
It
and
gives
so
mention to
obviously
war,
it's
to actual war, to death, to people killing each
Because,
other.
like I said, the Jewish version is not wars against peoples or wars against religions. And even if it was, it would be war against Baal, not against Christianity or Islam.
And Baal is the devil,
okay.
right?
No, Baal
I,
is the Canaanite gods
false
that were
god.
combating against Yahweh at the time.
Okay.
It's meant to be like the false gods of before the
Yeah.
Abrahamic religions.
Okay.
That's what it's meant
Idols
to
that,
mean.
Idol
yeah,
worshiping
the
and
idols
such.
that were.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically saying that before the Abrahamic faith, the precursors to that were worshipping evil and fake gods that promoted all sorts of horrid behaviors, and they're like, we should strive to not be like them, and do that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that's the gist of it. But I'm keen to know. I like, rather than even comparing to Jewish belief at all, I would be keen just to learn what the Islamic
Yes,
or Muslim
and that's why we're sharing,
perspectives
and
are.
that's why we're having this going and coming back, because I'm open to sharing my perspective. I see a lot of people are also sharing to open to sharing their perspective, and that's why this is so healthy. And Simcha, just to kind of I outline this and why I see the synergy between the Muslim perspective of the Antichrist versus the Jewish perspective of the Antichrist, because we believe that the Antichrist will be followed by 70 factions, okay? Not 70 people, not
Well,
70 nations, but 70
just
factions.
yeah, just to
So,
be clear, I don't
mm,
think that Judaism would have an antichrist, because to have an antichrist means that you would have Christ, and we don't believe in Christ. So
facts.
it's a bit of
That's a valid statement.
a
That's a
weird
valid
one.
statement. Yeah.
But but anyway, just from your perspectives, and what's common out there, like what I hear from you is that most Muslim scholars believe that a violent battle is coming that will be militarily defeated with weapons, and
By the
it's
way,
a
there's a difference between the verdict of that war and what would happen. There is no specific mention to what I mean. It's not an absolute statement. You need to understand,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I want to feel out how, or hear
So
how
basically, what
much
it is that
interpretation
when the
that
Antichrist
might be wrong.
comes, he will be like a god on earth. He will have powers to resurrect the dead. He will have powers to bring food and water to people who need it. He will have in his right hand the paradise, and his left hand hell. And he will tell person, believe in me, enter paradise, and that will be hell. And opposite way, the same way, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the Antichrist is a calamity. It's not something you can fight against. And there is a narration, for example, that one of the really strong believers will see the Antichrist, and it'll be like, you are the Antichrist, you are a liar, you deceiver. And he will cut him in half, pass between him, and after he passes him in half, he will resurrect him again. And it's like, see, I am the God Almighty. I am the one you should worship. And he will be tortured, destroyed, and there'll be an example set to the rest of the believers. Right? I'm just giving you broad lines of what is mentioned about the Antichrist. So
Okay,
ultimately, Simcha, for us, I can personally conclude that there are certain traits of an antichrist figure that we could see resembling certain traits of what the Messiah is for the Jews. Because, for example, Jews don't believe that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, as you quite rightly mentioned. He was a false Messiah. That's why, for Christian narratives, he was put that crown on his head, because he was a false king of the Jews. And for that reason is that there still is a Messiah coming, and that Messiah will bring glory, and he will be a Messiah that will be strong, and.
okay. So if I could apply this to a more practical sense of what this actually means on the ground to the situation at hand, would I be correct in my understanding here that basically, or essentially, a lot of Muslim people who are knowledgeable on this believe that there is there is a big war, an even bigger war coming, or
Yeah.
maybe it has already happened, but a lot of things are lining up that would sort of validate this prophecy of the end times as something that is currently coming true. And as part of these teachings of this prophecy of what's going to come true, what would also be in line with these prophecies is a lesson here to say be skeptical or careful about any enemy that comes forward and makes promises about if you like do as I say, you'll be okay, you'll be looked after, but if you
No,
don't,
I
we're
don't
going to
think that's
destroy
the
you.
takeaway of
Or,
that story. Honestly, I know what you're saying, but I personally don't see it that way.
okay, but like, is that a view that perhaps Israel
No, because
itself
we've
or
seen we've
collectively?
seen different relationships between different civilizations before, and some civilizations or nations came before and said to Muslim states do things in a certain way, and they were followed. I mean, you know what I mean?
But
So
this,
it's
is this a time that it's where the takeaway could be, or it's common thing to believe that is the takeaway here to be careful of what Israel is promising here, because they often make promises like, oh, if the Palestinians stop fighting us, then there would be peace and no more war, and we'd all live happily ever after.
well, I cannot
And
align the geopolitical situation with Israel to the end of times narrative in the specific point of mentioning that there should be a distrust to Israel. Okay, because we have no definitive proof that Israel is the enemy. Okay, so we do have a theme of having an antichrist figure that will be led by 70 factions of the Jews, but it doesn't mention the people of Israel in Israel. So it doesn't specify. I cannot absolutely and unequivocally conclude that that's the case. You know what I'm trying to say, Simcha?
okay, so is what you're saying is that this is a candidate, but not definitive, that Israel could be this end time
Current
situation
state
that
of
was
Israel
prophesied?
is not is what Azrael said. The past state of Israel is not the current state of Israel. Is not the future state of Israel.
Sorry, I mean the current is the current state of Israel how they currently are and how they're currently at war. Is this a candidate that they could, or someone within Israel could be the Antichrist
No,
figure,
the
but
Antichrist is
not
not coming from
definitively?
Israel. He will lead certain factions and certain factions of Christians, and I believe it's Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists. But that's it's a bold statement. I'd like to think.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So to confirm, the answer is yes.
Possibly
The Christian and Jewish Zionists could possibly be the Antichrist, but you're not sure yet. But
followers,
some
but
things
the
seem
Antichrist
to line up.
is a being. He's not Netanyahu. Okay.
Maybe there's a figure even worse yet to come,
No,
kind of
no,
thing.
he's not a human being. He is someone with extra natural powers that has been, we believe he's been caged in an island and he will come back.
Could he be cloaking himself as being human, but actually
He
not?
could have followers and disciples, but the Antichrist is the Antichrist, to our mind. Guys, do you mind if we postpone this conversation because I really need to go to the restroom? Um, maybe someone can open a
Sure.
VC and I join later? Tres?
Yeah, I can do that,
Oh,
but I don't know how long I can be here because I gotta go
You got a
to an
show today or
event.
what?
But yeah, yeah. You want me to open it now?
No, because I need to bounce to the toilet real quick. So I was hoping to close this and maybe someone can open a VC and maybe I can join later
Open
on.
it now. Yeah, I'll open it now. Okay. Okay. Bye.
A pleasure
thank
to
you.
all. Thank you, Simcha. It's the first time I talk to you. It's definitely you're a very appropriate person to talk to. I look forward to doing that again.
Yeah. Have a good
Okay.
one, Kareem. Oh, by the
Likewise.
way, the video I got of the last one didn't the sound didn't turn out at all. It's just like us like talking without any sound because I
Uh,
was using my earphones. So fuck, we'll
no,
have to
but
do
I
it again.
recorded this session, so I'll share it with you guys
Okay.
before I
Okay.
upload it to
Uh,
YouTube. Okay, because I thought it's
okay.
to get the
How
feedback.
did you figure out how to do it? How did you do it?
Omar shared with me a program called OBS, and it's for free.
Oh, okay. Are you using earphones or is it
It's straight from the
not?
laptop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. The problem with me is that I was using earphones, so
Yeah,
it didn't get any of the
probably you
sound.
need to see how the channel goes. I'll show you how
Yeah.
OBS works because it's really good.
Okay. Okay. I'm opening a chat now. Have a good
All
one,
right,
buddy.
cool. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.